there is an aspect of it where at some point you just are like, okay, well, what do you want?
Yeah.
And if you're going to pursue something that's kind of harmful, how much can I say as a therapist, don't do that before you have to kind of figure out, is it harmful?
So I have never listened to the actual podcast itself because I can't focus on a podcast to save my life. And that's just disrespectful to you guys. But I watch the little clips on Instagram and I send them to my partner, and I laugh so hard sometimes because one of you will say something and we'll be watching the clip together, and one of you will say something and then it will initiate a face in one of us, and then it cuts to the other person that is like our relational person between the two of you, and you're also making that face. And that just makes me laugh. And I wanted to share it. So that's it. Okay, bye.
Welcome back to Secondhand Therapy. We want to remind you that we are not doctors or therapists or lawyers or anybody of any knowledge whatsoever. Please do not take our advice.
This is not professional advice. This is not a substitute for therapy. If you notice, we are not wearing what we are going to wear in the episode because we forgot to record the introduction when we recorded this episode last night. We have a guest.
We do. We have a great guest.
Oh, I love her so much. She's a very good friend of ours.
Yeah, you've seen her on Comedy Central. You've seen her on Netflix. You've seen her on Bad Santa 2, the movie, a couple other films.
She was on James Corden this past year. Yeah,
she's terrific.
On James Corden.
We are talking, of course, about Jenny Zigrino.
Of course, Jenny Zigrino.
Of course.
Love her very much. Here's the episode with Jenny.
Yeah. Tomorrow's therapy day. And her and I have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, what are you going to talk about?
We're going to talk about the reemergence of my eating disorder, which has been coming back very strong with like a big vengeance.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some relationship stuff. We're probably going to talk about grief, some unhealed, I mean, not unhealed, but like, you know, the 1 year anniversary came and went.
Yeah.
And not much fanfare, I guess. That's not true. My parents threw her ashes off of a helicopter.
I heard about this.
Off of a helicopter.
All right.
That's special.
So
yeah. I love this story.
Did they dump them out or just throw the whole
okay,
thing?
so my mom really wanted to do this helicopter thing.
Yeah.
And my dad flew out and my mom wanted us all in the helicopter. I did not want to be in this helicopter. Yeah. There's also a weight limit on the helicopter.
Okay.
I don't want to be on a helicopter that has like a weight limit.
I don't ever want to go in a helicopter.
Yeah.
Like pre-Kobe, I was like, I'm not doing it.
No.
Yeah, the helicopters have never been for me.
I was like, I heard it. I heard that there was a weight limit. And of course I knew that once I brought that up to my mom, she's going to be like, well, why are you so fat? In her accent. But maybe this is time for you to go on diet so you can honor your sister.
Wow. God.
Just background, everyone. My sister's dead. So
yeah.
She passed a year ago. Hi, I'm Jenny Zigrino.
What an intro.
So my mom. So I had. Okay, this is the thing. I stated my needs and I didn't people please. Mm-hmm. And I told her right before, I said, I'm not going on the helicopter.
Okay.
And she was mad.
Yeah.
And she got over it.
Yeah.
So the day before, we get a phone call from the helicopter company that's like, do you have a water soluble bag? Because you can't just throw ashes out.
Right.
You have to be in a bag. Well, because if you throw them out, it'll come back.
Right.
Yeah, you're in a helicopter.
You're in a helicopter. Where you just, it's all coming back in the helicopter.
Yeah.
So they told us to get a bag like at 7 p.m. the night before. Where are we going to get a biodegradable bag?
Yeah, Walmart doesn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, like.
So, of course, we couldn't get a bag. And then they couldn't get a bag. So my mother built a machine She basically built this 2-inch PVC pipe. Duct tape to the top of that was a funnel.
Okay.
And duct tape to that was the bag full of the ashes in which to make a way for the ashes to leave.
Yeah.
A beer bong for
Basically.
ashes.
Basically.
I was going to say built is generous.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
I don't know. She designed something pretty cool.
Okay.
It's thinking
Yeah.
on your feet.
Yeah.
And so then they did part of the ashes out of the helicopter over the ocean. And then apparently when they brought it back in, all the fucking ashes came into the helicopter.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens.
Yeah.
It's air.
Yeah.
It's blowing places.
Yeah.
So when they came down, I hugged them and they were like, we're covered in
No.
ashes. And I was like, yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, no, I know.
I know it's going to happen. I know, this is the thing they don't tell you about ashes. They get everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was scooping my sister up the other day. I was like, Mom, I want to, because I wasn't able to look at the ashes. I wasn't able to touch
Okay.
them. I wasn't going to look at them for a while.
It's a weird thing, yeah.
It's weird. It's like, I open a drawer and it's like, oh, there she is.
Yeah.
Shut the drawer. So I finally was like, I want to take my part. And so my mom handed me like a spoon. She just handed me a soup spoon. And I was like, fair. Take it downstairs, unwrap her. And then I'm trying to put the spoon inside. And all I had was like a little weed canister. It was a mess. And so I tried to put her in, but that wasn't working. So then I just took the canister and put it in. And then while I'm doing that, the air suddenly becomes dry. And I'm like, oh, of course.
So easily airborne.
So easily. So I was
Such
like,
a fine powder.
yeah, I was like,
ashes
I
are.
just ate my sister.
Yeah.
And you know what? Feel great about it.
Yeah.
No regrets.
Yeah.
Would do it again. 5 stars.
You do it again.
Yeah, I will do it again.
I will.
Not on purpose. Not on purpose, everybody. But they do. They are. It's a very fine powder.
Yeah, they very easily become airborne. It's disturbing.
Yeah.
The comic in me wants to tag that up.
Oh,
so
tag the
bad.
shit out of it,
It's just
please.
like,
We're right in the 1
here
hour.
I am eating my sister, and I'm supposed to be on this diet.
My eating disorder is really out of control right now. Oh my God. All I can eat is protein
God.
and carbon.
And carbon.
You gotta laugh about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cry later.
Yeah.
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 So we'll talk about that in therapy.
Can I ask what kind of eating disorder you have?
Yeah, I have a binge eating disorder.
Okay.
It used to be binge eating and bulimia. I was bulimic from 14 till 34.
Okay.
Or no,
And-
sorry. 14 to 30. And then when I was 30, I stopped purging.
bulimia is binge and purge.
Yes.
Okay.
But I had been in recovery since like 2015 for it. 2016, I stopped purging. And then in 2020, during the pandemic, I actually went into an outpatient recovery
Oh, yeah.
for
Did
eating disorder.
you find it helpful?
I did and I didn't. I think that the way that binge eating is looked at is they put us with the anorexics, which is
Interesting.
which is like we're given the same treatment as someone with anorexia. So like one of the things you do is you have mealtime and everyone has to have a full meal. We all eat together and it takes a half an hour and you can't get up from the table. Like you have to stay there that whole half an hour. And it's mostly like that because you want the anorexics to eat. Meanwhile, all the binge eaters are like, we finished our food.
Yeah. What am I supposed
We
to do
did
every
it.
25 minutes?
I'm a good girl. Yeah. And then I'm like, all right, I've got 20 minutes, just sit here.
Yeah.
And then the other ones are just like struggling to eat. And then you go to group therapy, and once a week I would have therapy for binge eating. And everything else is group therapy where it would be mosely anorexics. And it'll be a lot of people being like, if I ever got, they wouldn't say it, but in so many words, if I look like you, I'd kill myself.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So it would be like a lot of that. And there was a lot of like me talking about my experience with things. Like I remember one of the dinners, we got into talking about camp, and I was talking about how I got sent to fat camp, which like when you talk to other people with eating disorder, especially binge eating disorder, like fat camp was a huge problem. Like the whole concept of like fat camp and like what they did was like traumatic and pretty abusive and all this weird stuff. But I wasn't allowed to talk about it at the table because it would trigger the other girls.
Oh, okay.
And not like a sorry what happened to you at fat camp. More like your experience being fat will bother them.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was like
Most people-pleasing recovery.
oh my God, it was
Yeah.
so it partially was good. Partially it was like I don't think very helpful.
Yeah.
So
When going back to the fat camp stuff, is it
yeah.
the stuff that's hurtful there? Is it just shame based, or what is happening at the fat camps?
So at fat camp, and this was like 99 I went, or 98. I think it was 1998. Corn was in full effect. It was
The band or the food?
The band. Okay. We were not allowed corn at fat camp.
Yeah. I love both.
Love both. The way it was, first of all, it was based on like a low fat diet, which we now know is like bullshit and actually harmful
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Right.
And we worked out 6 hours a day.
Oh my God.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Are you doing
yeah.
2-a-days at fat camp? Like, what the fuck? We're building a team.
Yeah. we came out of there fucking Navy SEALs. We're all ripped 14-year-old girls. You know, you had to get weighed in front of people. There was no like therapy part of it. It was
Okay.
all like, you're fat. Your parents sent you here for 8 weeks to lose 30 pounds.
That's what I was wondering about the language there, because is it like a kind of like a scared straight kind of thing where they are just like mean to you kind of while you're working out or while you're weighing
I think it
in?
was like that. It's that unintentional mean. It's the mean of our parents who grew up
Yeah.
in the 80s. You know, the mean of like your mother who like doesn't want you to get bullied, so tells you you're fat every day.
Yeah.
To make sure that you know you're fat so that you'll lose weight so you don't get bullied.
You
And
better
then-
do something about this.
Yeah, and you're
that
like,
kind of thing.
You're the bully.
Yeah.
You're being mean to me.
Yeah. It's like she's like pre-bullying you.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
this is what it's gonna be like on the outside.
Yeah.
So
It's like that on the inside.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just like the experience of fat camp was of its time thought to be helpful, but now we know it's like
Yeah.
was not. There was probably added to the shame and added because then also too they taught you these lifestyle skills that now I'm like, okay, these are not great skills. But then you just were like let out into the world with not addressing why as a 12-year-old you're overeating.
Yeah.
And also too, a lot of the kids there did not have weight problems. Like were not what I would call overweight. A lot of the kids there had wealthy parents and they were 13-year-old girls whose bodies were changing.
Yeah.
That's what was happening. There's so many of those girls I remember were what I would just call like a prepubescent girl or a girl going through puberty.
Was it predominantly women?
It was all women.
Really?
Yeah. At this one, yeah. This was all women. Were there men there? I don't know.
Just
No.
the camp counselors.
Just a creepy camp. Yeah, but it was like it was so funny to see like there were people there that just I'm like, I don't even know why you're here. You just look like a normal person.
Yeah.
But one of the girls, her dad was a Hollywood producer and produced Austin Powers. I remember that.
Damn.
She was such a cunt.
Yeah.
Oh my
of
God,
course
she was such a cunt.
She still is.
100%. 100% she is.
What constitutes binge eating? I'm just trying to figure out if I have any
Yeah,
disorder.
you probably do.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
so
Thanks for that.
all right. Well, I'll give you
Judging
some.
by how you look, I'd say.
No, you might have orthorexia.
What?
Okay. Well,
That's something with your feet, I think.
yeah. Orthotics.
It's got orth in it.
It's those orthopedics. So binge eating can be in a lot of ways. It's basically based off like a binge restrict, right? So you restrict for so long, which is like it can be restriction, can be a calorie restriction. Maybe it's types of food restriction. It's just some kind of restriction that leads eventually to a binging episode, to where like, for example, if I wouldn't allow myself for, weeks to have carbohydrates, it would end in a 2 a.m. complete and utter bread binge because my roommate works at a bakery and would bring home baked goods every night. And there just is a day where it switches and you can't do the restricting anymore because there's something innate in us that when you restrict, your brain is like, I need to have that. Right. So it's like, which I think is a lot of, in the eating disorder world, food addiction is kind of like, is it a real thing? Because if you just allow yourself to eat any food, for the most part, people then just like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So like after I went through recovery and I had allowed myself to eat all the foods that I want, my binging went down a lot because like I could have cookies in the house and I wouldn't eat all of them because I knew that it was always available to me. And I think a lot of people with binge eating grow up and like restricting in this restrictive home. Right. So I had that growing up. And that's one way that binge eating can be. It can also be that, people, in order to cope emotionally, will go eat 4,000 or 5,000 calories in one sitting.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't always have to be emotional. I think that sometimes we think that like, oh, fat people are fat because they're sad or whatever the fuck. But, it can just be, it's a feeling of being out of control when you're eating.
Yeah.
And it can be anything. Sometimes for me, a binge is not 3,000 calories. It's going off the whatever restriction I've put myself under, which for someone might be normal. Like it would be like going to McDonald's and having like half a burger and the fries and a Diet Coke. To everyone else, they're like, that's normal. To me, like that would send me into a spiral of what a horrible human being I am. So it just kind of, it depends. And then, orthorexia is kind of a new one that's been popping up where it is based on like people with very heavy restrictions. So like it kind of, I think like kind of in the wellness world right now, like on one hand, you'll be like, all right, I'm going to have oatmeal for breakfast. Sounds great. And then they're like, oatmeal's bad for you. And then you're like, okay, well, I guess I can't have oatmeal anymore. And then you're like, okay, I'll have eggs. And then you get fed along the way that somehow eggs are bad. Okay, now I got to take out, like it becomes this kind of fear of food. So like it can be veganism, but veganism to like an extreme. Or it's like orthorexia can be anything that's like to an extreme. It's like I am going to, do like a master cleanse. You do it once and then you start doing it every month or whatever it is. Like it's really categorized by, it's so much in partnership with the wellness world. Like it's wellness out of control.
Yeah.
So
Like an addiction to wellness.
it can be an addiction to wellness. It can be like, like some people are just like, they don't eat sugar, then they'll never eat sugar. They don't eat anything that has sugar in it. And it can be so much so that like they won't, like if it's like, well, I'm not going to go to a birthday party because there's a cake there. That's disordered eating.
Yeah.
Right. Or like if your eating habits are ruining your way of life of socializing or work or anything like that, like that's a disorder of some kind.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
I have an eating disorder, guys.
oh, I love it. I love that for you.
Thanks. I'm going to kill myself later.
Yeah. What do you have?
I think for sure binge eating.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Nice.
Nice.
I did it.
You did it. Are you restricting?
I guess.
I'm curious to see if you're placing it. I don't want to air your business too much, but you do keto,
Yeah.
and then sometimes you'll go off keto,
Yeah.
and then you'll eat whatever you want,
Yeah.
and then go back on keto. So I don't know if that
Yeah, I mean,
is classified, but
That
you're
can
making
be.
but you're making those choices.
Yeah, because I do like keto, and it helps me. I'm going to describe my eating disorder.
let's hear it.
It
I
helps.
love it.
Keto helps me stay on a path of like nutrition that works for me,
Okay.
because I can still eat things that I like
Yeah.
without having to, like, I can cut out carbs and sugar. That's fine, because I can still eat like a steak.
Okay. Here's my question to you for that.
Okay.
If it is nutrition that is for you, feels good,
Mm-hmm.
then why is the binging happening?
The binging will happen typically if I take like
And then what's the thought process actually as you're having a binge?
if I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have like a cheat from keto. I'm gonna have like pasta or pizza or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I will have, if I'm gonna have a cheat day,
Yeah.
I will pack as much food into that day as I can handle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna have a breakfast burrito. I'm gonna have pizza. I'm gonna have pasta. I'm gonna have 5 donuts,
Okay.
and I'm gonna make myself sick on food.
Okay. Yeah. That's like weird.
I know.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that's so normal, but that's so normalized in our culture,
Yeah.
which is like
A cheat day or
a
whatever.
cheat day, but it's a day when we're going
Yeah.
to make ourselves feel sick because we feel like on the other days
Yeah.
we're not allowed to have the things that we like. So on this day, we're going to make ourselves so sick over it. But it's like there is a life where you can incorporate the foods that you do like, and you can incorporate those foods that to you are currently your cheat foods, and live a balanced life.
I don't believe you.
I mean, look, I'm still struggling with it too.
Yeah.
I think it does exist, but I think that in order to do that, you kind of also have to be okay with the fact that you might stay in the body you're in.
I was gonna say love yourself, because
I mean, not even love yourself, but just know that like your body might not change.
yeah.
So there's this thing called intuitive eating that they teach in most eating disorder clinics. And the idea is, and I believe it, is that you and I are all born with an innate ability to know what our body needs. Your body, like when you're a kid, you're eating chicken nuggets, your body's like, I'm good with these chicken nuggets after 2. Or we have kids that like will never want to touch cheese because maybe they know that they have an allergy to cheese.
Yeah, there are some 41-year-olds that live off chicken nuggets.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah, it's crazy out
It
there.
is crazy.
That also might be an eating disorder. Not that everything is, but live your beautiful life.
Weird. Look at you, all
Live
3
your
of us.
beautiful life.
Imagine.
Chicken nuggets and turkey sandwiches.
But it's
Imagine living that way.
it's that we are born with this innate ability to know what our body needs and what it doesn't. And along the way, which usually it usually comes in the form of, I was not even a chubby kid. I just was like, I'm an Eastern European Jew, Italian. Like
Yeah,
my body's built to be bigger than a
Right.
waspy white girl.
right.
It just is.
Waspy.
Yeah, you fucking waspy pieces of shit.
Double down.
Pieces of shit.
Double down.
Dude, waspy is such a great
You
adjective.
blonde, waspy,
Golf
Protestant Vanderbilts. So I was put on a diet at 6.
Oh my God.
So, and I've been dieting since. So it's like, of course I have completely lost the ability to know what I want, when I'm full, when I'm hungry, and all these cues that we naturally have, we lose them because of diet culture, which is like, you're told that like you can eat as much as something as you want and to get as full as possible that you're not hungry for the next. Like it's like we do so many gymnastics, and through intuitive eating is you give yourself permission to just eat whatever, and you do go on the pendulum the other side if you've been restricting over here, but eventually you kind of come down to normal, right? And through that, then it's also too with intuitive eating. They talk about gentle movement. What's movement that you like to do? Like, I'm not going to the gym because I need to lose 20 pounds and whatever. I hike because I like hiking. I go on the bike because I love to bike. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's healing your relationship with food, healing your relationship with movement and with body. And then at the end of, once you're kind of, you have those hunger cues back, you're feeling good, then you kind of start to work on the nutrition part.
Why isn't this fat camp? You know what I mean? Like, why aren't these the building blocks?
Because there's no money in it.
Yeah.
There's no money in
The
it.
same reason they don't teach us how to do taxes in school.
Yeah. They want us to fail.
So, I mean, it's really funny to be talking about this because one of the mental breakdowns I have today was
Today?
Yeah, it was just
Nice.
like I'm descending just further into my eating disorder. And part of that is the injection stuff is so loud right now.
Ozempic and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's really loud. It's all over social media.
Yeah.
It's everyone's. It feels like everyone's taking it. It feels like, and it feels very much like this thing of the one thing you've always wanted is now here.
Like a miracle drug kind
It's
of
a
thing.
miracle.
Like, it's
Why don't you
here.
just do it?
Yeah.
Just do it. And if you choose not to do it, people now, before it was like we were getting to this point where people were like, okay, like fat people exist and it's okay. And now it's like, but you don't have to exist. Why are you choosing to exist? So it's been ramping up like crazy. But back to the intuitive eating part is at the end of it, then you start to think of like, okay, like maybe you're like, oh, you know, dairy really does fuck with me. Then you're like, you've had all the cheese that you've wanted. And now you're like, now that I'm in tune with my body, I'm like, oh yeah, cheese makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
Why do I eat things that make me feel bad? And then you start to work in that gentle nutrition part of it.
What
But
if
this
cheese
is
makes
all-
me feel good?
Then eat
because,
cheese.
Because joy.
But that's the thing too, is like food is joy. You eat because your body's like, you have to eat so you live, idiot.
Yeah.
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 So which one do I listen to? Joy cheese or ouchie cheese?
Joy cheese in moderation, right?
I
Is
would,
that's
I
the
would
idea?
say,
'Cause
you know
we're-
what, if
I wasn't talking to you, you skinny fuck.
and that's the other thing too. I'm sure like you said you were big at
Oh
one
yeah, I
point.
battle it all the time.
You battle every day.
Yeah, and I'm currently in a fight with peanut butter right now. But yeah, I battle. Yeah,
I've heard the farts.
Three
Oh, peanut butter.
people with weird eating problems.
yeah. Peanut butter's doing me dirty right now. After 40 years, peanut butter's like we
Suddenly
can't
it's
be
just like,
friends. Yeah.
no. Oh
I hate it.
man.
I can't do nuts. Anyways.
But that's isn't that part of the gentle nutrition part?
Yes, and that's what I'm learning is, but what I've been trying to unlearn is that what I'm trying to learn is self-love, and what I'm, because I was raised the opposite way, where my mother overfed me and just loved me too much and told me I was perfect.
So sorry.
While she fed me apple pie and cake and cookies and like all these things, and
Yeah.
Then I got big.
Yeah.
And then nobody wanted to be my friend or date
Yeah.
me or any of those things. And so I was like, well, yeah, mom likes me, but people outside the house fucking hate me.
Yeah.
And so I had to find that balance on my own and tell my mother no and restrict myself and find that balance of what I can eat,
Yeah.
how much I can eat, what that looks like, activity, all those things.
Yeah.
And it's something I struggle with still, and I still hate my body. I've hated my body even when I think back to, or I'll see pictures of me back when I thought I was still heavy or big or whatever, and I'm like, I am so skinny there. I'm so tiny, and I hated my body, and I hated myself, and I still thought that I was in a bigger body, and couldn't. I still had that shame that was connected to it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's something that you deal with your whole fucking life, and it doesn't matter. For me, it hasn't mattered how in shape I've been or how not in shape I've been.
Yeah.
I'm still not happy with it.
It
sucks.
It is crazy. I have the same thing where I'll look at photos from like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, why? I hated myself so much then.
Yeah.
What's wrong? And it's so funny is like the best I ever felt physically, and actually the time when I was and I guess I don't want to say this because I don't want to be like, this is how you lose weight. But there was a point where I was deep into doing self-love exercises. I was meditating, and I was really feeling connected to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I did drop weight, and it wasn't out of restriction. It wasn't out of like whatever. It was just that I think that there is something about like cortisol and like
Yes.
this feeling
yes.
of like, if you hold on to like energetically how much you hate your body, like you can't, it makes it harder for it to kind of relax into where it wants to be.
I think
Because it's always on alert of like, you're gonna, and dieting is dieting is stressful for your body.
Yeah.
So
I think it's also a two-part thing right there where you're also releasing some of that, right? Some of that
Yeah.
stress, anxiety, all that stuff you're building up and holding on to. So, of course, you're dropping some weight. But I imagine also what's going into it is feeling better about yourself. So seeing yourself differently. And so maybe you're even looking different to yourself, even though you're not really like, oh, I'm down 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Maybe you're only down 5 pounds. But you look like, oh, I'm down, a bunch of weight because you're feeling better about yourself.
and it's not even, I'm gonna disconnect the feeling good about myself to a weight real
Yeah.
quick, right? Because the goal is to feel good about yourself
No matter what.
no matter what, or at least have neutrality. Like I feel like the goal is always to be like, my body is my roommate. It pays the rent. It does what it's supposed to do. I don't have to love it, but it's here. And I think that on that journey of like, when you start to like feel more connected to yourself and you have more of that self-love, it does just come off as like people think you're glowing, or people think that there's something different about you, because you're carrying yourself differently.
Yeah.
Things, energy's moving. Like, I believe in like chakra and energy. It's moving through you differently. It's like, of course your face changes. Like, things will just change because you're just giving off a new vibration versus I hate myself. I have to get rid of this. And again, this is all like, I really want to like point out that I was sobbing today about the feeling of what a fraud I am, that I still want to be small.
Yeah.
Like, I am saying all this, and in the back of my head, I'm still like, but I need to be smaller. I need to if I'm not smaller, I'll never be loved. I'll never get jobs. All this shit. So I say that fully coming to you guys as like two people right now. The one that just cried earlier today about my weight and about my eating disorder, and the one who's like, I know the way out.
Yeah.
And how do I get there again?
Where's that voice rooted in that? Is it society? Is it upbringing? Is it childhood?
Oh my God. I mean,
that idea of like, I need to get smaller. Where is that coming from?
that is definitely parent talk.
Yeah.
It's society too. I think that society, for both men and women, puts an incredible strain on our bodies to look and be a certain way that is pretty much unobtainable. Like, abs are obtainable if you're dehydrated. Like, most people don't have abs.
Yeah, abs are impossible.
Yeah, it's all like these incredibly impossible standards for your body that they know you can't achieve. You can't live a full life and be absolutely shredded because of the work it takes. Like, it's the same as like, you're missing part of your life. You're not going to your kid's birthday party because there's cake there. You're not socializing at the barbecue because you're on a strict it's out of your intermittent fasting window. So
Yeah, your life is about how you look.
yeah, 100%. And you know what? If that's what you want, I 100% support it. I support those people who want that life. Sounds lovely. So I think that the voice is two parts. The voices, one is definitely society, and the things that were shown on TV and through ads and all that stuff. I mean, Oprah,
Yeah.
look at her. your whole life. This poor woman has just been trying to be thin her entire fucking life.
Yeah.
And then the other part, you know, I had parents who, my mother a few days ago told me, you know, I was saying that I was like, I feel unattractive to my partner. And she was like, well, if you lost weight, maybe things would be better.
Yeah.
To this day, when I talked to her about issues with work, well, you're the heaviest you've ever been, Jenny. Maybe that's why you're not getting work. So I hear it.
Yeah.
You know, I might not to demonize my mother. My father's side, you know, he's been big his whole life and he's always struggled with his weight. And I go home and I have a little sister. She's 16. And I remember them talking about intermittent fasting.
Can I just say your younger sister is one of my favorite people
Isn't she great?
on earth.
She's so lovely.
Oh, she's the best.
She's so smart. She has a horse now.
She got a horse?
She got a horse.
So happy.
That bitch.
She wanted one so bad.
She bought it. She found the horse, bought it herself.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And she just is
At
training
17,
a horse.
16?
16, yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah. I was
So
not
happy.
doing that.
No.
So happy
I
for
couldn't even
her.
get a PlayStation at 16. Bitch is buying a horse.
Bitch bought a horse.
Wow.
No, she loves Moose. Shout out to Moose. Big ups. But you know, I remember being home and he was talking about intermittent fasting, and he was saying that he had a friend who eats one meal a day in a 4-hour window, and they lost so much weight. And I'm like, yeah, they did. They've cut their calories in half. Like, well, maybe that's the right way to eat. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do that. I think we're gonna do that. And I'm screaming.
Those are the people that think like we should eat like cavemen did.
Yeah.
Like you hunt,
Yeah.
you eat as much as you can, and then you starve till the
and
next
then they
hunt.
died at 35.
Yeah.
Like, what do you?
I don't want to do that.
That's like a lot of this stuff. Some of the stuff is like when people lose weight on like a new diet. I'm just like, it's just you just restrict your calories. Like that's it.
Yeah.
You have a 4-hour
And
window
it
to
always
eat.
comes back. As soon
It
as you start
always-
regular eating again,
Yeah.
guess who's back, baby?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be like this forever. Are you? Because you're miserable. To be around. There was like it was kind of like a slim fast diet in the 50s. Was it this drink, and it was about you drink 2 a day and then had a meal, and women were getting like 900 calories a day on this thing, which is way below.
too much.
Way. Ooh, okay. Way below. And people were having heart attacks.
Oh my
They were
God.
going to cardiac, like anorexics go into cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And this was happening to women. And 40 people had to die before they took it off the shelves.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. People eat tapeworms. Do you understand how crazy?
Yeah, you got to be wild to eat a
fucking-
tapeworm.
I'll eat a fucking tapeworm. What's up?
Where do you even buy a table? You know what I mean? You're just fucking at Ralph's.
It's L.A. Yeah, you go to
Yeah.
Ralph's.
Just lick the ground. I don't know. Find it. Lick
Ralph's-
something.
Ralph's on Sunset.
LA?
Yeah, they have tapeworms.
Rock and roll Ralph's.
Yeah.
That's the one you get that sick tapeworm at, dude. But yeah, it's so insidious, and it's just like you grow. It's the soup we grow up in.
Yeah.
So it's from all sides.
So you said you mentioned you talked to your partner about like feeling unattractive. Are you pretty open with that person about your eating disorder, and how does it show up in
I
your
think
relationship?
today was like a day where I had been hiding, feeling as crazy as I had been feeling.
Yeah.
And it's hard because I am someone who built a brand off of, fat acceptance and weight inclusivity and haze and all this stuff, and being like, fat people deserve to exist. And like, and I still believe it. And at the same time, I'm like, I don't know what to do except I just want to be smaller.
Yeah.
And I feel like a fraud. And I feel like, a liar. And this had been something that I'd been hiding and kind of having like I guess it would kind of be like having like a kind of a holier than thou thing about it. Right? Like I'm so in my recovery and enlightened, and I had just been spiraling, and I like had to kind of have this moment with him where I was like, I'm actually not doing well. And I need you to know, because I've been trying to keep it from you, but I'm not. And so that happened today, and it was hard.
Yeah.
And I feel better, because before that it was like, who did I have to talk to but just my therapist?
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to because right now in the plus size community, a lot of the influencers are going on injections. And a lot of like these people who built their whole brand on being plus size and inclusive of plus size and wearing plus size clothing and plus size fashion and like all this stuff are getting thousands of dollars from Ozempic.
Yeah.
To now push Ozempic. And a lot of us in the community are feeling super abandoned.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, we bought into this, and now suddenly you're saying it's bad. Suddenly you're saying that like this is bad for your health, or like you want to think about your health, which is like is always a big thing that people will say. I just want to think about your health as a fat person. It's like, but none of these trolls go on to someone smoking a cigarette and tell them you're promoting smoking cigarettes.
Right.
You know, like you're bad. How dare you like smoke cigarettes? Kids can see this, or like whatever it is.
Yeah.
They only do it to fat people.
Right.
So yeah. So it's hard. The eating disorder is in the room, as I had told him. It's in the room with us, and
yeah.
Was
it the struggle to bring it to your partner? Was it like fear of judgment, or kind of you were saying a fear of being a fraud?
Fear of being a fraud.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the reaction was going to be like, yeah, I knew you didn't believe any of this shit.
Yeah, that's hard.
And that's not what the reaction was.
Of course. Yeah, of course not. Yeah, it's not going to be as bad as you think it is.
Yeah, the reaction I thought was going to be like, oh yeah, you're full of shit. I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
Anxious attachment style.
Yeah. I knew I hated you for a reason.
So that wasn't what happened. It came with someone saying to me, I understand everything you're saying.
Yeah.
And I understand it, and I'm not judging you for it. So that was nice.
That's great.
Yeah, we'll see what the therapist says tomorrow.
She's like, you got to leave him. He's too supportive.
He's too supportive.
He's too supportive.
This is some bullshit.
Too understanding.
Yeah. I mean, I think what her and I are going to talk about, you know, is just, I don't even know what we're going to talk about when it comes to this. Because it's very like, there is an aspect of it where at some point you just are like, okay, well, what do you want?
Yeah.
And if you're going to pursue something that's kind of harmful, how much can I say as a therapist, don't do that, before you have to kind of figure out, is it harmful?
What's the harmful thing you're referring to?
Just going on like another restrictive thing. And one of the things that I have for me is like, I actually do have a medical condition, endometriosis. It is an inflammatory chronic disease, causes me a lot of pain, causes me a lot of problems.
Yeah.
A restrictive diet has helped a lot.
Really?
It has.
With your symptoms?
So following like a pretty restrictive diet has been super helpful with symptoms. How much of it is what? I don't know. But that's been very difficult to like, okay, where am I? Am I fixing my endo and like that pain, or is it the eating disorder pain? Mm-hmm. You know, and it's hard to get them to work together. Yeah. It's hard to do in the long run this will be better for you versus the right now this feels good. Yeah. So right now I'm working with not only my therapist, but I'm also seeing a dietitian.
Oh, okay.
Who is an eating disorder specialist. And we're talking about kind of game plans and what we can do to like mitigate as much mental harm as possible. Is that the right word? Yeah, to not have this be mentally harmful, but also pay attention to body stuff.
Yeah.
So therapy's going to be stupid tomorrow.
That sounds fucking terrible.
It's going to be really, and I have therapy and the dietitian tomorrow. So
Oh my God.
I'm going to be weeping.
Yeah.
A lot of tears. It's so interesting how this stuff is like it's so ingrained because to feed ourselves is to nurture ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that also relates to how we were nurtured growing up mentally. It's like all intertwined.
Yeah.
All of it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said that you recently started binge eating again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is right around the same time as the 1-year anniversary of your sister passing. Are these things connected? Do you find yourself binging in times in your life when things are stressful or you're grieving or you're like things are feeling out of control in those ways?
I think there's some aspect of that. I think that there are a lot of things in my life right now that kind of feel a little out of control.
Yeah.
And it is one of the therapists I worked with, in the treatment came up with this, and it was very enlightening. It was like that time in the car that I would have with Burger King was like my time.
Yeah.
It was like just for me. I didn't have to do anything with anybody else. I didn't have to think about work because it shuts your brain off. You don't need to think about anything.
Yeah.
Too. So it's like I don't have to worry about anything. It's just me in the car just eating some French fries.
Yeah, it's just something that brings you pleasure.
Yeah, it's just a joy. It's like reconnection to self, and it is unfortunate. And I think a lot of people who are addicts understand this too. There's nothing that feels better as a coping mechanism than the addiction, and whatever the skill is.
Yeah.
So for me, the coping mechanism of food is there's never going to be something as good.
That's what I was kind of relating into, is like falling off the wagon kind of feeling of when you're stressed or grieving or whatever, you go back to these things that feel familiar or safe or connecting back to self.
Yeah, it's like nothing is gonna feel as grounding and as good as sitting in my car and eating. Like it feels great.